content marketing, SEO, competitive research, advertising. Sounds like a large scope of work you need to get done. How about full digital marketing control over your business? SEMrush can be your right hand for that. It has over 50 tools and reports to cover any online marketing activities. No more switching from one service to another. Get a 14-day free trial and watch your business grow. Go to bit.ly/SEMrushMPN. That's bit.ly, bit.ly/SEMrushMPN.
Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to let you know that this podcast goes a little bit off the rails and a little, I would say, tangential, but it's a fun one, and I think you're going to enjoy it, but bear with us, because we both are neurodivergent and gloriously so. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, so the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. You already know I'm Seth. I'm here with Claire Paniccia. I love that name. That's
Good job.
Cool.
You did.
Paniccia. There's a lot of vowels in there. So
Yes, it's
I
Italian.
had to ask at the very beginning. I'm like, how do you say? And it comes out very easy. It's not one of those really hard names. It's just
Well, in the
a lot of
original,
vowels.
in actual that's the American pronunciation. In the
Oh
actual
God,
Italian,
what's the
it's
Italian one?
Paniccia.
It's still not the hard. Where's the Where's the CH? Oh,
CI in Italian is a ch sound,
Oh, go figure. All right. So anyhow,
like ciao.
we're already off the
CIA.
rails.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Claire is a content marketing strategist and coach on a mission to prove that you can build a successful business even if you do things a little bit differently from the gurus. I don't like when people call themselves gurus. You're one of the many unique people out there. You say in your bio that you have ADHD, anxiety, and chronic depression. So you're not neurodiverse is the majority of the country that even if they don't know that they're neurodiverse, they most likely are. We're the ones that just are enlightened to the fact that we're whack, and no, seriously. I mean, I look at people, I'm like, oh, I'm neurotypical. They don't say neurotypical, they say normal, but I'm being politically correct. They're like, I'm neurotypical. No, you're not. I'm sorry. You're just not enlightened yet.
Yeah.
Because some of the greatest minds were neurodivergent. Like Einstein was bad at math. Go figure. The guy who does E=mc squared.
Was he really?
He was terrible at math.
Oh my
Because he had
God. I wonder if he
ADHD.
had dyscalculia.
I think it was decided that he had ADHD, but that's kind of I think it might have been used as a catch-all. So I don't know. I don't know the whole story. But who knows? Anyhow, so you are a coach, a marketing strategist, and a quirky person to the nth degree, which is awesome. You also ran a Neurodiverse conference that I attended. What was the name of it again?
It was the Neurodiverse Entrepreneur Summit.
I loved it. I just didn't remember the name, but go figure it's my ADHD. But like, what's that thing called? Blah, blah, blah. I forget. Anyhow.
That super cool event that I went to.
It was really good. Dr. Aaron Baker told me about it, previous guest on the show. And I mean, it was amazing. How neurodivergent people can operate pretty much as entrepreneurs.
The summit? Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of neurodivergent, quirky, however you want to say it, do great at entrepreneurship because they can make their lives work with their brains and use the superpower of the ADHD of all that stuff and not have to worry about, the boss doesn't get that my brain works outside the box, not inside the box.
Or for me, it's like I do not work well within the 9 to 5 temporal structure. My mornings are sacred and they are slow and nobody can schedule anything with me before 11 a.m.
Love it. But that's fine. But then after 11 a.m., you're off to the races. And one of the best things, you know that about yourself.
I also do want to say, like, embracing and building around the superpowers of your neurodivergence, but also I don't want to, like, minimize the struggles that come with
there's struggles,
being neurodivergent. Because at the same hand, like, yes, our brains, especially like ADHD people, our brains are super creative. We can have a million ideas, but at the same time, the flip side of that is it can be very hard to, like, my experience of it is I have this like tornado in my head.
Same here. I'm
Taz. I'm
Tasmanian devil.
Say again?
I'm the Tasmanian Devil from Looney Tunes. I'm Taz. I'm totally
My brain
exactly.
is Taz. Like, I'm a very
Yeah.
low energy person, but my
Oh,
brain
I'm
is
not.
not. And so
Oh, I'm
I'll
the
have
whole
a million
I'm the whole
ideas.
package. I'm the whole package of
Yeah.
Taz.
Yeah. I'll have a really hard time of untangling it
Mhm.
and like getting big picture. Like, it's very hard for me to go macro on my own business. I'm very good at doing it for other people's businesses.
Isn't it amazing how that works? Like giving other people
I
advice
know.
works, but like our own stuff is a complete disaster. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, you should have a process. Oh shit, I should have a
Really?
process too. Like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that for myself. You go do it and work on it together. That kind of thing. Everything turns into a
Yeah.
mastermind. So, how long have you been doing your own thing?
Yeah, I have been doing something in the self-employed flavor of things since I can never remember if it's 2016 or 2017, but one of those years in April was when I went off on my own.
Oh, it's a good time. Spring, the rebirth, the whole thing. Like, it's a good time. It's sunny out. It's a little rainy, but it's a good
It
time
was
to start
actually
business. I
because it
started
was the
mine.
1-year anniversary of when I started that office job, and I had never had a job for more than a year, which follows in with the ADHD stereotypes. I'd never had a job for more than a year. I felt like such a failure at adulting, and I was in my mid-20s. And I was like, I will have this job for at least a year. I will have a job for a year. And then by the final 6 months were just torture. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm leaving at exactly a year. And I put my 2 weeks in notice 2 weeks before my 1-year anniversary.
But you made
And
it a year. Congratulations.
but I
It's an
spent a
accomplishment.
significant portion of my time at my desk those last few months, like building my new website
Well, you
on the
gotta do
clock.
that stuff. Don't don't tell.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. Real quick, I want to make sure you know that the world's leading B2B Marketing Expo is returning to the Los Angeles Convention Center on March 21st and 22nd. It's high time we got back together to learn, see the latest technologies and solutions, and network, right? Join thousands of marketing professionals just like you to learn from over 250 industry expert speakers, educational masterclasses, and over 300 exhibitors. And this year, your ticket also gets you into the Sales Innovation Expo and the Marketing and Advertising Expo. So it's like 3 conferences in one. It's March 21st and 22nd at the Los Angeles Convention Center. Go to b2bmarketingexpo.us to register. That's b2bmarketingexpo.us. The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of the B2B Marketing Expo for 2023. We'll see you in LA.
No, but so 2016, 2017, we're now
Mm-hmm.
2023 pretty much. So you clearly found your
Yeah.
niche. You found where your brain works. And a lot of
Mhm.
times what people with neurodivergence have to do, you have to say, all right, some can find a job working for another company that is flexible enough to let them be as neurodivergent as they need to be. Others,
Mhm.
like myself, I've been doing this since 2007. Did it to get a job, because in web design you have to get a job to get the experience, to get the job to get the experience. That
Yeah,
whole
that whole
rigmarole.
catch-22.
Yeah, exactly. But I only went and got a job when my son was born in 2013, because I was like, I'm not making enough money. We have a newborn. We got to do that. I lasted a year and a half. Mainly,
That's impressive.
I mean, it lasted a year and a half, and surprisingly enough, it was because I was good at the job that they made. They made me a job because they liked
Mm.
what I was doing on social media at the time. They made me a job, and they decided that job was new, and they didn't know what I actually did, so they got rid of the job. My boss liked me, or he hated me when I think back to it, and he put me into another job that was not right for me because he
Mhm.
wanted to hold on to me because he thought I was good. Well, I
Mhm.
wasn't good at the second job, and I'm like, I gotta go. Peace.
Mhm.
So that was the thing. So, Claire, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Or hit on that, like you can wake up when you want kind of thing, and you can like have your mornings be precious. But other than that, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Hmm. I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is, and I don't know if this is specific to being an entrepreneur that's also a personal brand,
Yeah.
the amount of personal growth and development that happens because
Mm.
of it
Yeah.
is wild. Like,
It's
I am a
incredible. Yeah.
vastly different person than I was 6 years ago when I started this.
Really?
Oh,
How
yeah.
so?
I mean, I didn't get diagnosed or realize I was ADHD until I was like 26 or 27, and I was already a
Wow.
couple years into it, or at least a year into it. And actually, I couldn't get an official diagnosis for like a year and a half. But I realized my therapist was like, I think you have ADHD. And I was like, no, that's crazy. And then she gave
Yeah.
me a couple books and I was like, okay, fine.
You're like, are you this? Yes. Am I that? Yes. You might have ADHD or something near
Yeah.
that spectrum of ADHD. I got
Mhm.
diagnosed in 3rd grade. I'm 41. I was one of the first people to be diagnosed, I think, in the country. Like I'm as a guy,
Really?
I was diagnosed back in the 80s. And
That
I'm the
is
sole
early.
reason why my mom, who was already a doctor in psychology,
Ah,
had a doctorate in psychology, but why she went from industrial psychology to child psychology and
mm-hmm.
school psychology. I'm the
To
reason
get
why
some
she
new
went down
field.
that path because she was fascinated by my wacky ass brain. Because, well, am I right? It's like I sit here and I'm like, squirrel. But that squirrel moment is as brilliant as the previous moment. But I forgot the previous moment, which was so brilliant. But the squirrel moment's still pretty damn good. So I'm going to go
Uh-huh.
that direction. And people look at me and they're like, how do you operate? I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
The chaos works.
It works though.
Sometimes
It's
the chaos
amazing.
just works.
I know,
That's
seriously.
so
So what?
interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's also it speaks to like a very common difference because I identify as gender fluid, but I was assigned female at birth. So I'm female bodied, and it does speak to the difference in how ADHD commonly presents in men versus women.
Oh
Earlier, we
yeah.
were talking about the Tasmanian devil, and you were like, I'm all the Tasmanian devil. And I was like, Tasmanian devil's in my head, but not in my body.
Yeah, because
And
presenting
that's why a lot of
female.
girls,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why a lot of
It's
girls
so
go
hard to get diagnosed.
undiagnosed in
Yeah. And
childhood. Yeah.
I know a bunch of people that were diagnosed until their 30s
Yeah.
because it's in the
Same.
head. It's not everywhere.
And it can
Nice
be. Like,
sound
I
effect.
know plenty of women who are extremely hyperactive. Like my
It's
childhood best
rare
friend growing
though.
up,
No, it's still
she was
rare.
super, yeah.
They're
But
fidgety,
it's also,
but they're fidgety. I've yet to see someone presenting female because I mean I'm old, so it's this whole gender fluidity stuff's hard for me. I'm gonna probably step on my foot at some point. I'm
that's
warning
okay.
you.
It is perfectly okay.
But
It
my
can be,
thing is that my friend Nicole, hi Nicole, she's 33, and I'm like, I'm old, I'm forward thinking, but can you please educate me on the she, they, it, furry? And she's like, well, stop at furry because it
pronouns.
can be the pronouns. Thank you. See, even that, and so I'm like, oh my God, I'm old. I feel that old,
Okay.
but a lot has changed since I was a youngin'. So, but my
And
son is
that's
so,
like, it's okay to be like forward thinking and open minded, but not having the knowledge. Like,
yeah.
because you're forward thinking and open minded, you're asking for that education. And that, like, nobody knows this stuff inherently.
No. I tripped once. I was at a bar camp and on conference, and I referred to the guy's son as his daughter, and he's like, "Who's my son?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" He's like, "It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's okay." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And the kid's like, "It's fine." He had long hair. He was probably 10,
Mm.
at which point long hair on a 10-year-old, you can't tell.
It's hard to tell when they're
You
that
can't
age. Yeah.
tell, and their voices are still squeaky.
Mm-hmm.
My son's
Were
voice, he's
they
10.
AFAB? Were they assigned female at birth?
That I didn't get into that. I
Yeah,
ran as
you don't even
far away
know.
as
Yeah,
possible.
because when they're 10, like, who cares?
No, my son sounds like he's a chain smoker at 10. He's got a deep voice. It doesn't have a deep voice. He doesn't have a scratchy voice like this when someone's smoking cigarettes like this. But he has a deep, gravelly voice for a 10-year-old. He's not squeaky like his friends are. Like, you can't listen to him for more than 5 minutes because it'll hurt your head. But my son has always had a deep voice, a deeper voice for his age. Like, he came, and then he started talking, it was deep. And I'm like, okay. And he's like,
that good bass.
he's gonna have a deep voice because if it's deep now and his he hasn't matured yet. I'm trying to
Yeah,
keep
he's
somewhat
still
PC
preteen.
here. He's gonna be he's gonna be Barry White or something. Like, hello, good for him. And we're
Gerard Butler.
way off the rails here, but this is still fun. But I knew that this was gonna be a fun episode. So, what is the worst thing about being an entrepreneur? We already talked way back when, before our squirrel moments. We talked about what the best thing was about being an entrepreneur. Did we even talk about what the best thing was about being an entrepreneur? Let's go back to that.
Personal growth.
Personal growth. Okay, we did touch on.
We touched on it.
We touched on it. What keeps you up at night, essentially?
Well, I think changes based on, or for me, it has changed over time.
Yeah.
In the first 3 or 4 years of my business, it was am I buying groceries?
Yeah.
Built up a lot of credit card debt supporting my business or supporting me while I ran my business in the first 3 years.
Same here.
Now I've reached a point where I am not as worried about the immediate costs.
That's such
And
a good feeling.
oh, it feels so good. This is like the first year where I'm just comfy. And it feels amazing.
Like you can actually get that thing for the business and not feel bad about it.
And
not
get
have
things for
dread.
myself. I can actually buy myself stuff for the first time.
Imagine
It's
that. Like,
without
seriously.
stressing or penny pinching. It feels so good. Anyway, but so this is the first year that I'm like comfy and I am being more strategic and intentional about like next level growth, which is really exciting. What is the most stressful thing about being an entrepreneur at this stage for me? Oh man, I'm pretty chill.
Hey, it doesn't have to be that, you know.
Cool.
I mean, you already mentioned what this other stuff was like keeping up at night in the beginning was that you were not able to you had to fund yourself on credit cards. I mean, I started my whole business on the Bank of American Express, much to my mom's chagrin. You know, and that means seriously, I got like a 21,000 credit limit card and I ran with it.
Same.
And I mean, because I didn't want to, I mean, I'm ADHD. I can't come up with a business plan. Are you kidding me?
Nah. Yeah.
Like,
This
that's
is
too
literally
structured.
like it's sitting on the floor behind me, but this is literally the first time I've planned months ahead and I'm actually confident in that plan and feel good about it. Like I don't
I'm doing
think
that
it
too
will
this year.
change.
Yeah. Oh, people don't like. People are like, why don't you just do this? I'm like, well, my brain doesn't work that way.
Because I changed my mind. Because it doesn't sound
Yeah.
interesting anymore.
Oh my
But
God, it's the
all of this
worst.
is still interesting, and I don't think it's going to
fun.
change
Well, that's
much.
good. All right, here's another good question for you. What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time? I love that response. Everyone goes,
Self-awareness.
That's a good one.
Self-awareness. Because for me, like, the moment I started embracing my ADHD brain and like researching it and learning how it actually neurologically works.
Find the user manual.
Exactly. Once I figured that out, and it's a constant process.
Oh God, it's constant. I mean, I've been diagnosed for my whole life and I'm still figuring stuff out.
Right. But once I like learned about the ADHD brain and other neurodiversities, I finally realized, oh, that's why that doesn't work. Oh, maybe I should structure my offers differently. Maybe I should figure out a different way to communicate with my clients because I hate email. Email stresses me the fuck out.
Really?
And so now I text all my clients
Mine's
on Voxer.
picking up the phone. I don't like talking on the phone. I
can't even remember the last time I picked up the phone.
But like, I'm more on Zoom, but I prefer to talk on Zoom, see people face to face.
I do too.
Even if it's on a Slack huddle, picking up the phone. And I'm Mr. Taz, Mr. Outward-going, talks to everybody, but picking up the phone to call the pharmacy. Existential dread.
Really?
It's like I don't want to talk to people on the. Like, my doctor's like, call me. I'm like, I will email you.
Yeah.
And my wife's
I'm
like,
all about text. For me, like people are sending
I
voice
hate
memos and I will
texting.
text back. I love texting. It's so low key.
But you're a younger
I
millennial.
have
You're a
limited-
younger millennial. So that's kind of.
I'm a millennial and I'm also a spoonie. So like even people who are sending voice memos, I'm like, you can send all the voice memos you want as long as you're okay with me text responding. And like that's what works for me.
And those who appreciate that, you get it. And those who don't, screw it.
I think about your neuroidentity, but also just self-awareness in general. Because and I was talking about personal growth and development. I figured out my gender identity in the midst of my business. And I think if I hadn't had as much, I was already looking internally because of my business and my ADHD and all these other reasons.
You had a reason
and I
to be
may
looking
not
internally.
have picked up on it
as
well quickly.
You'd be surprised because you were kind of already in there.
Right, I was already in there and I was able to observe like, oh, this is interesting. Why am I feeling this way? And explore that. Had the skills to do that. Yeah,
and you were in there. Yeah, it's amazing what it can do. And I feel like people with ADHD who know they have ADHD or have some neurodiversity, I guess not keep this ADHD, but those who are aware of it, are at an advantage over those who don't know that they have it,
Undiagnosed.
or those normals out there, like the
Yeah.
neurotypicals out
Mhm.
there. Like they're not as aware because they're not they're not introspective enough. They're not. I mean, some are. Some
Some
gurus out
are,
there very are.
absolutely. But I think neurotypical people
Just
feel like
go
what
with
you're
it.
saying is like they aren't faced with this constant challenge of why isn't this working for me?
Or
And so they don't
why
have to
am I
look
doing this
internally to
now?
figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Why am I
Yeah.
doing this now? Wait, I was supposed to be over there. I'm
Things
over
are just
there now.
working for them. And so they don't have that like
Mhm.
absolute need to look internally.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is.
So where can people find you online? Where's your
Absolutely.
hangout?
Yeah. Mostly my email list. So you can find me on my website, clairepaniccia.com.
We'll put that. We'll
Um,
spell that for you in the
yeah.
show notes. But it's a long one.
It is.
Yeah.
It's panic and then CAA. So 2 C's. That's what I always
Ooh,
say
I
at
like
the
the
coffee shop or on the phone.
Yeah. There you go.
On Instagram, I'm at Conquer Your Content. That's my
Ooh, I
brand
love
name.
that. I love it.
Thanks. That's my brand name. So I'm Conquer Your Content pretty much everywhere. Instagram is the only place that I hang out, and lately not as much, but I will always have some toes in the Instagram pool.
Yeah.
So Instagram at Conquer Your Content or clairepaniccia.com.
There you go. Well, Claire, this has been so squirrely and fun and awesome.
So squirrely.
But I knew it was going into it,
Yeah.
and that's fun. That's what the thing about
Yeah.
podcasts. This is not fucking NPR.
No.
This is not Terry Gross. I'm sorry. I'm a good interviewer, but I'm not that good. I'm not anywhere near that good. And I'm like, but I have had friends in the past try to do podcasts with me. I'm like, no, it's not NPR. It's not buttoned up. Yeah, I'll get rid of some ums here and there, but like you'll see when this comes out. I might put a disclaimer saying this is a squirrely podcast, but it's
Yeah.
a fun one. It's a
Yeah.
fun one. And thank you for being on. This has been
Yeah.
a blast.
So much fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was awesome. Awesome to get to chat.
Awesome.
I love meeting
Lots of
fellow
awesome.
squirrelies.
Lots of awesomes. Yeah.
So many awesomes.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys.
Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Tanya Daka hosts a great podcast called The Copy Arena. Tanya, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
What they're going to get is down-to-earth copy advice that helps them get their readers to open and take action.
Amazing. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe at tanyadaka.com and anywhere you find your favorite podcasts.
Or on marketingpodcasts.net. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.